giving Ziv Renekton, you know, I like this considering that LGD have also just banned away Null, which is the common pick into it.
Yep, they banned away the Gnar. The Renekton has been picked up. Udir going to be the first pick here for LGD. And they're actually going to swap around and say, look, we got ourselves, you know, we had the other side of the matchup. Now you got to go and deal with it with the Azir, Udir. But this time round, Rogue Warriors have banned away the Olaf. And that was something that we talked about in the game. Olaf can just go toe-to-toe with Udir. Now, who do you pick into this? Because Udir is kind of a monster when there's no one to really contest him.
I think you're getting strong picks here for RW. I mean, you've got the Lillia, which just hyper clears, and then, you know, the ability to impact team fights with the lilting lullaby. RW actually have some pretty big priority picks here now. Note that things like the Rell are still available if QiuQiu feels comfortable on something like that. You've already got the mid lane here for LGD, and this hover of Lucian, man. This is something Forge has played in the past to pick up a carry matchup in the mid lane. Remember, this doesn't necessarily have to be going down to Betty, so we have the flex on the board for RW.
Yep, decent flex could, of course, just be going into Forge's hands. Very prominent AD carry or AD caster player in the mid lane, has plenty of experience and plenty of different other options. Of course, the Lillia is a good team fighting jungler that Rogue Warriors have built up for themselves. And Cult said, look, you know, I'm fine going weak side again. I can deal with this Renekton. I'm going to pick up the Sion and we're going to go toe to toe. Totally fine. And looking at this right now, you're going to see a lot of bans being chucked into that bot side now.
You're going to get rid of things that can, you know, kind of pivot and start the snowball as well. Already for RW, we have that snowball kind of composition, right? You know, the first, second item going to be really strong here for RW, while LGD already, you've got that scaling with the Sion and the Azir on board, and you add that bit of disruption coming in from QiuQiu Udir. So for RW, it makes sense that the support bans are here against Peace. I'd like to see something like the Rell that would work so nicely within the composition of LGD taken away by RW, and for LGD, you know, take something away, another thing away from Betty, right? You know, you got a lot of 80 carries that are still there. Not the Aphelios, but what else? What else, Penguin? What else is an 80 carry these days? Kaiser's already banned. Samira?
I like how you're just like, you start a point. This is what I love about color caster hysterics, is that you start a point, and then as you're about to give examples, your brain just goes, there are no examples, and you're just like, I've forgotten everything.
For context of people out there, usually, you know, when you're casting from home, having two screens is really great. It broke in the last move, so I'm kind of on an island.
That's right.
Yeah. Feels bad.
Yeah, you're on the solo screen right now, so all you have is a nice little pick ban. You don't have the cheat sheets that we like to call.
Oh, there you go. Rell wasn't banned away. Penguin, I got something right for once. I mean, for RW, they go for the Tristana ban, and Rell just works so well here for LGD. I actually really like the composition. When I was seeing powerful picks for RW, getting away Lillia, they go for Lucian, so it's going to be in the solo lane. Now you have Ezreal and Alistar. So a pretty safe bottom lane when it is going to be the solo lane priority that RW need to play through.
Well, yep, they have got it. Ezreal has been rising in prominence. Has actually got a very cheap build path. I was talking to Lyric on our last cast about it, and it's just something that had happened. And then Jinx locked in. Now, bear in mind, this is pre-health buff, so this is still lacking in 60 HP at the start. That might not sound like a lot, but that could literally, that's like an auto attack and a half, basically, of damage being able to put down. So this Jinx locked and loaded before she's actually at her full strength. I'm curious to see how this will work for LGD.
But again, this is what I talked about with LGD. This comp wants to scale, right? Like, when the bottom lane is an Ezreal Alistar, you feel pretty comfortable here being the Jinx and Rell in this situation. You're going to have to play through solo lanes here for RW. It is going to be about Haro. How Haro can impact Forge and Ziv's lane, especially since the top side, I feel like, will have a bit of good kill pressure, considering that Renekton versus Sion can cut down the shield, and then the AP threat coming in with a mixed damage lane. Penguin, coming into this game, I want to note that, you know, Jinx losing the HP also got the buff towards the range. Q range now is an extra 25 per level, 725. At max rank for Q now. It's huge, man. Remember, Rat-a-tat-tat, I think Clement and I were talking about it, is either 800 or 850. Like, so Jinx now has a huge range advantage, and if this team scales, then there is nothing RW can do. So it goes back to what we talked about. RW want to be the aggressors, and for LGD, they're going to sit back and wait, bide their time, get towards those 2-3 items, and their comp will outscale the hell out of RW.
Yeah, and you can just, going back to your point on the Jinx, is that, the switcheroo, the Q, its bonus range went from 75 at level 1 to 100. That ranks up all the way pretty much 25 plus up to 200 extra range. You also don't get as much of a penalty anymore from swapping between guns. It used to be, you used to get a penalty of 25%. Now it's down to 10%. And not only that, but the flame chompers are actually a little bit faster to arm. It used to be 0.7 seconds, now 0.5. So it is a big buff to Jinx, something that has been kind of a long time of her just kind of slowly bringing herself back into us. But it actually, the one thing I did notice, and this is something that I noticed from solo queue and just noticing it, at high levels of play, despite the buffs, because they nerfed the health from 610 to 550, she actually had a negative win rate.
Yeah.
She was about 42%, 43%. So when they brought her back, now everyone's like, she's, not in this game, but she was up to, in the next patch up to 610. People were like, oh, she's absolutely busted. So it's curious how something as small as a HP change can literally be the difference between a champion being meta and absolutely useless.
It was a full auto, right? And then some. That 50 HP in the early game is so significant. So I think that base health growth going back up in 11.4 is a really nice quality of life. Speaking of quality of lives as well, just note that with Jinx 2, the Flame Chompers now actually doesn't place in front of you. It places at max range if you decide to go past the area of effect, if that makes sense. So it is really nice to be a Jinx main at the moment, as if actually getting traded really nicely. Colt waiting in the bush, and that's a really good start to the lane. Renekton relies on level 1 for getting lane presence and lane position for his ability to start influencing as early as possible. With the HP lead, Colt will be a little bit more comfortable up in this top lane.
What was your favorite Pokemon game?
Favorite Pokemon game was Pokemon Yellow, because when I was
never asked you that.
8 years old, I got a Game Boy for Christmas, and it was my first ever hand console. And I played Pokemon Yellow for days straight, so it was absolutely amazing.
I think I also had Yellow, actually. I even had the yellow pocket Game Boy at the time, because I believe my sister had the Game Boy Color, and I was always upset about it, because I was like, mine's in black and white. I want the color, but I never got it. And the backlight. Because you remember Game Boys never had a backlight.
No, you needed to buy it separately. I mean, especially with the Game Boy Advance, you had to buy the light that goes on top. So
yeah, because I distinctly remember as a kid coming back from places and driving on like a highway or a motorway, wherever you're from, and whatever it's called, and like having to wait until the lights from the street would pass me by so I could see what I was doing. But speaking of what we're going to be doing, we're going to see Colt might have to flash away from this one here. Haro is there, has the red buff. Ziv is taking a hell of a lot of minion damage, though. Needs to be so careful. Colt will be able to get the knock up here with the decimating smash, and is still looking fairly decent. He flashes, does get the Cole the Meek down on top of him, and he will fall. Now he can run in, take these minions, just try and keep himself as pushed up as possible so they can't get a full reset. And you can see Ziv, he has to be so careful. He can't walk up. Ooh, he almost got caught.
Yeah, that's what the result of pushing out the wave in the top side early on from Colt. We already mentioned that Haro will play towards these solo lanes. This is his priority. There's Quay doing the same. Forge is up in the lane. He has flash, though. But might just be Quay pushing out the wave, and Forge does have the relentless pursuit. So ignore me for the time being. Quay will just walk away after helping his laner, while Haro, meanwhile, picking up the topside scuttle after getting the first blood. And, Penguin, I want to mention that this is a really good start for RW. This is a 1,000 gold lead for a big reason, and giving Ziv priority back into that lane is going to feel real nice, and the ability to punish the flash that Colt used, and he just got the teleport to get him back into waves. So it feels like Haro's in a really good position to repeat gank.
Definitely something they could go for, but as you can see there, Quay looking to try and dissuade that if he does go for a repeat, but still a CS advantage here for Colt in this early side. As I said, that very first level 1 was pretty damning for the Rogue Warriors top laner as he tries to keep himself. He actually had to go with a Doran's Blade and Doran's Shield start, so knows that he's a little bit on the back foot, needs to make sure that he's not getting too far ahead of himself, because this Sion is still a very big threat. They can still get kills onto this Sion if, Ziv doesn't pay the right respect.
Yeah, they'll have to track it really nicely. I want to pay attention and look towards the bottom lane, though, because we are seeing the Jinx for the first time in the LPL. This is a pick that we already mentioned, has had recent touch-ups in the latest patch. But, of course, going lethal tempo really fits with the comp style we talked about, where it is that late-game threat. It is, of course, a hyper carry in the mix of a solid front line. And when you have Peace by his side as well, Rell and Jinx is going to work out really nicely. I think crash down into the Flame Chompers as well. A lot of follow-up CC with Zap lined up, and I think in the 2v2, they should actually be okay. We already saw them pushing out, and we saw that Kramer and Peace are keeping up in CS2. It's not a lane that they inherently lose, so it feels really nice to run Jinx into, you know, an Ezreal Alistar when you have a Rell by your side.
Yep, I think when you pick up Alistar and Ezreal into specifically a Rell anyway, it's very little kill pressure on either side. It's very difficult for you to get the damage and the CC down onto the Rell or the Jinx, and it's also very difficult for you to get vice versa onto the Ezreal. So it's something that you pick the Ezreal, you're probably not going to be looking for super early skirmishes. You're just looking to farm up, get to those early items. And like we said, or like I've said about, you know, the build that you go with the Essence Reaver, the Mana Mune is also a part of that. Dustbringer is a component that you can go for, but it's just a very, very cheap build. And with the priority they're able to get in that bot side and Haro, you know, pushing into that bot lane, they are able to pick themselves up the first dragon of the game. So nicely done by Rogue Warriors. They have the first blood, they get the first objective. Good start to game 2 for them.
What you expect out of a composition running like this. I should also mention that, of course, when you pick the Ezreal Alistar, you're not picking for the lane, you're picking so that QiuQiu can roam up and play towards the advantage that Forge will accrue on the Lucian in the mid lane and how volatile the lane actually is. So it does feel like QiuQiu going back onto this Alistar has a very different role in this second game. And I'd also say that Peace's role is to kind of mitigate the pressure and try and shadow this Alistar, if I'm speaking so bold here. So Uniboy, you can see, already setting up some defensive vision just in case we see that Alistar roam, while junglers are going to beef it up around this Brambleback.
Well, no real vision here onto Haro, but Quay has a pretty decent idea that something was going down as Forge and Ziv were roaming in, being an absolute nuisance. And if you can start taking away camps from this Udir, his early power farming does lose a lot of its edge. Yeah. And that's something that's very, very important to keep an eye on, just purely from the fact that if Haro can get those big teamfight ultimates, like the big lilting lullabies, that's far more useful than just a fed, fast and beefy bear.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always going to have more impact in the 5v5 setting as the engage, nicely blocked by QiuQiu. An interaction we've seen many times is, I think actually Lilting Lullaby came through, or not Lilting Lullaby, excuse me, a Swirl Seed was sent down to the bottom lane, but actually hit a wall and kind of just dismantles from there. I love that you brought up Pokemon before, by the way, while we have no action going on. I will say my favorite Pokemon was actually Ruby. Pokemon Ruby was by far...
Your favorite Pokemon game?
Yeah, it was Ruby by far.
Really?
Yeah. It was the cleanest Pokemon. It was the easiest to learn.
That's Gen 3, isn't it? That's Gen 3. Sorry, I live with two absolute Pokemon fanatics. Like, one of them can name every single Pokemon ability, like everything they can learn, like when they level. The guy's insane, but it's impressive if nothing else. But I think I'll always have a soft spot for Heart Gold and Soul Silver because you just got to go back to Kanto, and you got to do like both the two of them. For me,
I remember.
What was your favorite Pokemon?
Oh man, oh god, that's a larger discussion. I don't know. I think it was Groudon actually, because it was the first legendary I ever got. Because Ruby was the first Pokemon game I ever finished. I was so young that Pokemon Yellow was too hard for me to finish. I had no idea what I was doing. I was like 8, 9 years old. So yeah, it was.
You just didn't know where to go.
Yeah, and Silver as well. I think Silver was like one of the harder games where I was like, oh my god, there's a telephone in this now as well. And yeah, no, I had a lot of issues.
There's a lot of different things when it comes to Pokemon games. I think Kingler has always been my favorite because I always loved in the show, the TV show, where he like goes over to the cloister in the Pokemon League and just starts beating on the cloister's ass, just like get out of here and fight, say it to my face. I was like, that's awesome. And he also levels up. He also evolves mid battle, which is like I thought was sick. But we're going on so many times. It's Pokemon Day, you gotta have fun with the Pokemon. If you can't have fun with Pokemon, then you live a very miserable life.
And for our audience out there, let's just remind you that RW and LGD, they're both sitting towards the bottom of the standings and kind of waiting for a moment like this to happen. I don't think Quay should be here. Lilting Lullaby.
Nope. He's got Lilting Lullaby down. They will pick up the Rift Arrow, but a knock-up, flash, bear, slap. They jump down on top of him, but Quay is the first one to fall. Uniboy does not hit the Emperor's Divide, and that means they could maybe go for another bit of a fight here. They chop up the Jinx ultimate, the explosive rocket. Does not get anyone low enough to kill. Kramer is here, but it's 4 kills even. Might even be 5 kills if Kramer gets caught out. Haro has to keep running at him. They're going to try and get all the summoners. He's slowed. He's able to get caught out, and 5 kills at the space of 2 seconds. Rogue Warriors have blown this game open.
Why were LGD contesting the first Herald of the game when you know you're the composition that want to play this smooth sailing game? RW have so much strength in pretty much the first 25 minutes of the game. You got a Lucian, you got a Renekton, like Haro picks up the Herald in the end, but Quay comes in for a re-engage. I feel like at this point you're thinking, okay, we actually find an engage. Uniboy misses the ult, I know. And Ziv is so strong just as a Renekton being first 10 minutes in. And LGD go and scatter 1 versus 1, and then Kramer just walks in as well. That was all LGD's fault. They should never have been near RW at this point in the game, and they pay for it with the whole ace given over to Rogue Warriors.
That is painful right there. That is 3 kills, 100% kill participation for Haro. You now have 2 kills and an Immortal Shield Bow for your Lucian for Forge. This is honestly such a huge snowball, and we talked about that in the early game. Like, if you get this Lucian going, if you're able to keep this Udir down, there's nothing LGD can do right now, and that's they just have to wait. They have no longer got the dragon stacking. They're actually going to lose that now to Rogue Warriors, who have got the early pressure. This Renekton is well and truly online.
Yep.
This could be... It looks like we might be going to a game 3 right now, because LGD, despite looking so dominant in game 1, Rogue Warriors unfazed by the manner of which they were dispatched and just coming out absolutely swinging.
Because my biggest question now is, like, how will you play against a 1-3-1 like this with Rogue Warriors, with a Lucian and a Renekton in the side lane? Like, you can never match the pressure here for LGD, and, you know, I mentioned the scaling before, but not even just that. In the last fight, LGD was so scattered, they were left with a 3 versus 4, 3 versus 5 for the start of the fight, and then I'm just so perplexed as to why they decided to continue the initiation and not say, well, look, Quay goes for the flash bear slap, Uniboy misses his ult, everyone just disengage, and it was too late from then, and I feel like LGD showing us why, even though they've played the least games, are still only sitting on 1 win. Not the same conviction that we saw in game 1, as even Quay getting bullied out and Rogue Warriors taking everything across the map right now. Penguin, we're at a 4,000, almost 5,000 gold lead at 12 minutes. This is insane.
Yeah, and that's honestly kind of why we're making such a big deal about this. You look at things like Lucian, Renekton, you know, even the Lillia. They're so big at snowbally champions. Things like Sion, the Azir, the Udir, they need items to be relevant. They need items and time and levels to be able to fight in these games. And you can see now, they push in mid, they go towards top, they have full pressure here. They also have the Rift Herald, which they can drop at pretty much any time. Now, looking to try and maybe take down Colt, who does get slept underneath his own tower. Now they go for the unstoppable onslaught. They should be able to take him down. He's just not tanky enough. He can't survive against all of this damage. And you can see here, maybe try to look if he can take down Forge, but he has got his flash available to him. And now with the Rift Herald, you can drop that up to the top side, gain yourself a lot of plates, gain yourself a turret. LGD will be able to answer a couple on the bot side, but it's just a lot of gold going into the pockets of Rogue Warriors.
Yeah, it's nothing in comparison. RW win out, of course. And in any other world, maybe the Sion kills Ziv in that trade, or RW don't come out as unscathed as they did. They're going to pick up the turret. They're going to get yet another charge, and LGD is still trying to work their way down on this turret. This is an absolute disaster. And I don't think RW can put a foot wrong. Now, of course, we already talked about scaling, so it's going to be a while before LGD can try and fix their errors. But at this point, RW have so much gold funneled into Forge. He's level 11, Penguin. Ziv is too. And there's going to be second items coming out pretty soon as well from RW.
That was 2 turrets in topside, all the plates, and they don't even get a turret down bot lane. So a massive amount invested here from LGD to try and answer, but like I said, the Jinx isn't going to be there. She's a late game carry that has, you know, a very, very fun time, maybe at 3 items, but at 1 item, not so much. Yep. You're trying to see if Uniboy can do anything. He's yet to pick up an item. He's still yet to pick up his Leandri's Anguish. There's just too much of a differential between the solo lanes and even just like the general carries on the side of LGD compared to Rogue Warriors that they can't take this fight. I don't even think they can take the next dragon fight in 2 minutes. And I think if they do, they'll just put them even further in the hole.
And this is a game where you're like, well, you know, the solo lanes are so far ahead, but because that lead is massive, I think this now affects people like Betty, right? He gets easier lanes to himself. He's able to just farm up and Kramer's always under threat, even with this Gale Force, even with Flash and Heal available. With the strength of RW, though, someone is going to be burnt off of cooldowns, so expect to see Betty get into a more favorable position as well. And I'd even say, expect to see that Duskblade build coming out. Even though there's a tier, I expect to see Betty go towards a Mythic this game instead of bypass it completely, because that'll just give the lethality to deal with this early to mid-game aggression that RW are playing so well. And at this point, you're right. Let's wait for the next dragon, because RW are just going to take it out completely. It's a minute till it spawns. I'm looking at gold Penguin, and even Betty's 400 gold up now. Like, the whole team is just so much bigger than LGD. How did it all slip away? You know, this is like a divorce where you come back after a week and you're like, where's she gone? There's a note. There's a bunch of flowers. She pities you, obviously. And you just go, what do I do with my life now?
Speaking from experience there.
No, I'm only 25.
It's okay, brother. It's a safe space. Come on, you can talk here. No one's gonna judge you.
But look, if
no, a small tear just rolls down your cheek as you're just like, no.
It never happened. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm just having fun with the idea.
That's all right.
But
it didn't happen. Just for context, it didn't happen for anyone out there in chat. It was not the case, but there's peace. And will he survive?
The answer is just about. So he gets himself out, but now he has no more flash available to him. They drop down the Rift Herald into that mid lane. Dragon has spawned. This will be putting Rogue Warriors onto Soul Point if they are able to secure it. And with basically without chunking out peace, there's nothing for LGD to do. They have no real engage or no reliable engage without the Rell, so they have to give this one up. That means we are seeing a potential 22-minute Infernal Soul coming out here for Rogue Warriors. That is insane how quick they were able to stack those dragons.
And they've got a lot of bursts coming through. Renekton, Lucian, like Infernal Soul on this team should seal the deal, honestly. Again, it is Rogue Warriors. It is a bottom tier team where, you know, these teams haven't been able to close out games cleanly. And I think Rogue Warriors especially, their problem is like these mid to late game team fights where they've had early game leads before, but they've thrown it all away. So I want to see this cleaned out nicely as Quay just gets to steal the blue buff. And Rogue Warriors to cement this game in under 30 minutes. That's what we're looking towards right now. Pushing these objectives, finding picks onto people like Kramer, really utilizing Haro and the burst damage that follows from people like Forge and Zip.
30 minutes, I feel like, is a bit generous towards LGD. I wouldn't be surprised to see Rogue Warriors take this in 25. If they're able to get that sold, it's just going to be so difficult for LGD to do anything. Like we said, in terms of the items, in terms of scaling, like you're so much scaling on LGD. Jinx, Azir, Sion, even Udir and Rell when they get super tanky. You have such a great front-to-back team fight. But you got to get there. You can't rely on late game if you never get to the late game. Whereas on the other side, I'm looking at Renekton, Lillia, Lucian, even the Ezreal to an extent. They have big mid-game power spikes off of 1 and 2 items. That just makes it so difficult for LGD to really do anything. I don't expect we'll see any real fighting happening in the next while. It's probably just going to be shaking waves off the side lanes, picking up camps, trying to get deep vision until 3.5 minutes when that dragon spawns.
Yeah, just advancing the vision line is what I also want to see from RW. They're playing up towards the top side now, just a couple minutes before Baron spawns, but more so that they can get the prio on the mid wave. A 5-man group here as well, and Peace actually X-flashing good away. I didn't want to see that engages. All right, Penguin take it away because Colt just ulted, and he ulted into a wall. Yeah,
that was unfortunate.
Not sure if he used it to get the lane or not. I have to apologize. I'm not sure if I caught that correctly, but at the very least, I'm kind of glad LGD didn't go in because they shouldn't have, and they should not.
Yeah, you see there, they lose the mid-tier turret. They're now 6,000 gold behind, or just a little bit under. Uniboy is finally picking up himself a second item. Will be the Zhonya's coming in very shortly, so he should have that in about 2.5 minutes, or at least have the stopwatch to be able to try and make some kind of a play. And this is how this game's going to go. Everyone's just going to push in the side lanes. You can see on the map there's very little vision for either side, so they're going to try and get back, get the vision down as best they can, try and keep those, you know, kind of both teams as much information as possible. Information is a resource in League of Legends. If you do not have it, you are very much a poor team or a poor nation. And yeah, we're just waiting right now. Unless someone from Rogue Warriors or LGD either does a massive mistake or a massive outplay, we shouldn't see any action for another 2 minutes.
I'd like to thank you for your information gathering of vision control and how people who don't know that are apparently iron. Is essentially you put it in a very nice way.
That was not the intent, but if that's how you took it, I apologize.
That's okay. Look, as a support player, I have a message for the audience, is that if you think the support's the only person to put down wards, you're absolutely wrong. It's an argument I've been having for a very
You're probably
long time.
gold.
Yeah. Use your gold well. Buy control wards, please. And that's what RW are doing in this game. You saw control wards in the inventories before, placing it down towards the Baron area in case LGD try and pull that one off. They do have a reasonably fast Baron, but if they pull that play out, it's more so that they're trying to delay the game while they're giving away Soul, because that's what's at cost here. A minute 15 till the Dragon comes up, and LGD might just have to contest this one. I honestly feel like you don't give over the Soul for free, right? Yeah, you're right. You have to. So you want to see as close to second items as possible for people like Uniboy, people like Kramer. I'm waiting to see that Emperor's Divide comboed nicely with Cult's ult as well. But you're asking still for a lot, and Uniboy will be asking for his teleport to be up at the same time too, which should be there as the Soul spawns.
Yep, we should have pretty much all summoners across the board just to take stock of the items before we have that fight in 45 seconds. You can see Gore Drinker and the makings of a Hysterics gauge in the back pocket for Ziv. Not quite having it just yet. LGD, though, are going to try and maybe force a little bit of a trade here. They're looking towards the Baron, but you can just solo out the Infernal Soul right now if you were on the side of Rogue Warriors. Like, you have a Zhonya's and a Leandri's Anguish, so you are totally fine if you're Haro on this Lillia. And this is where the fight will be gone. This is the final stand for LGD. This isn't even a final stand. If they win it, they have a chance. If you lose it, it's game over. That's just how it is. So, bit of poke being shown out. So difficult to get on top of all these carries. There's the True Shot Barrage, bringing Quay down to about half HP or a little bit above. Kramer takes a Mystic Shot to the face, and there's no real vision here. They can't really go for this, and the Dragon has been started. They have to back away. The waves aren't in position. They are not. They do not have the vision. Infernal Soul at 22 minutes for Rogue Warriors. Honestly, GG, go to game 3. This is. It would take a massive mistake from Rogue Warriors for LGD to be even thinking about coming back into this game.
And it would take a 50-minute game at this point. I'm willing to say 50-minute game where, you know, Colt's so tanky that he can absorb the Infernal Soul damage coming from RW. It would take full items from Uniboy or Kramer, or at least close to. There is a possibility. I'm not going to rule it out with the scaling that's so obviously in front of us, but RW have played the early game pretty much to a T. They've punished LGD. They now have an Infernal Soul. Elder comes up with Seal the Deal. Baron's there in front of them as well, and from the play, I mean, LGD couldn't walk in because vision control was firmly in hand by RW. There wasn't a lens that committed from LGD, but more so, you know, their frontline in Colt is not tanky enough to deal with anyone from RW who's so damn fed. So it feels like LGD are just kind of trying to die silently in a corner, or at least wait until they get that breath of fresh air in a couple of minutes. So sitting in sideways for now, Penguin, and Pings are actually getting slammed down by RW to take everything that's on the map, including Baron.
Yeah, I think right now, if you're LGD, you're just trying to get 2.5, 3 items onto your mid lane and your ADC. You're almost there for the Jinx. You're still a little bit behind if you got kind of 2 half items here for Uniboy on this Azir. That's what you want. You want some kind of competitiveness in this fight, but by the time you get there, it's just, I don't know if you can take this fight. Again, Rogue Warriors are so far ahead. If in a vacuum, Rogue Warriors play this 100% correctly, there isn't a world where they lose. They just have so much distance between them and the rest of the team. You can see these Mystic Shots being thrown in, just peppering down the health bars bit by bit by bit. You get a Swirl Siege, you get an Ardent Blaze, or a Light Slinger from from the Lucian. There is so much like just long range poke damage from a team that is just so far ahead that it just becomes very, very difficult for anyone LGD to walk up, which is exactly what they want to do. We talk about what team comps want to do and how they want to function. The side of LGD, they want to be running into you. They want to be in your face, but it's just so difficult for them to be able to do that, as everyone from Rogue Warriors is stacked into this nice little bush. But that's why you got to get your sweepers, ladies and gentlemen. It very nicely sets themselves up to not get caught out there. And you can see there, if Quay walks up, he gets killed. That's Baron. That's probably game.
Yeah, he wanted to make sure that he wasn't going to walk into an ambush, but even more so, I wanted to make sure the Baron's not going on, because LGD don't have vision around this objective. They use the blue scrying orb, but that's kind of like a one-time use for the next 60 seconds or so, if my ward timings are correct. So they're delayed for now. They move as a group. They're trying to moved closer towards the purple worm so that they can find out information that it's not being done. Control ward put in the back of the pit, and again, that'll keep LGD at a safer position. Also want to note, you're talking about compositions before. RW have a lot of really good disengage, like Relentless Pursuit, Arcane Shift, Headbutt Pulverize can stop a fight as well, Haro's Lilting Lullaby, Slice and Dice. Everyone has a method of escape rather than maybe using the word disengage. So it's just so hard for LGD to find something like a pick at this point in the game as well. They rely on, 5 versus 1. They rely on perfect ultimates, perfect flash timings as well. But even those summoners are still up and available for RW as they clear the wards once again. We're at 25 minutes of the game. We know that RW should win this game. I'm just waiting for one slip up, Penguin. I'm just waiting, okay? Because it doesn't matter what you tell me. RW, do I believe? I do not. LGD almost finding Betty, and Colt, his ultimates have been pretty bad.
Yeah, they have not been exactly ideal. As we can see, Betty just backing himself away with that Arcane Shift. Pretty damn safe. And all summoners still available for both sides. Neither really wanted to try and, be the reason their team loses as such. And you can see Rogue Warriors slowly but surely whittling away this vision around this Baron pit. They've got bot wave pushing, they've got top wave pushing. They're just fixing mid lane now. And now they turn onto the Baron. They are going to start that objective and try and just take it down as quick as possible. It's down below half already. And this is onto Quay. He has flash. Can he get in and flash bear slap this away? Is about 2-level difference, so realistically it's a 70-30 in favor of Rogue Warriors. They go in, they try and get down, but they're not able to get the Lillia out of the pit just yet. But she's dead! What happened? What happened? What happened? What? LGD! They get everything! They've killed everyone! It's an ace! It's a Baron! This game isn't over! LGD can probably win it from here! What the hell did I just see?
You saw Rogue Warriors in the flesh. It doesn't matter what time of day, who they're versing, what the series is. RW are just that kind of team. LGD find absolutely everything, and now all of a sudden, gold is dead even. In fact, with Kramer getting this turret, they'll be in the lead for the first time in this game. Infernal Soul be damned. Because Quay didn't even steal. He just kept attacking this. So we'll watch it again.
Look at this Uniboy.
Uniboy's ult was sick. And actually set up the engage. And on top goes Colt. Quay just autos down the Baron. And RW hand this game and most likely this series on a platter back over to LGD.
God damn, it's just, I am so shocked at how that is it. You called it. You said you wanted to see Uniboy with this, Emperor's Divide. You called to say that that's the big ultimate that can change a fight. My God, Uniboy, take a bow. That was insane. And now you're on the front foot. You have 3 items on your 3 carries. You have the position now on the Elder Drake. You don't have Infernal Soul, but it doesn't matter because you're the ones that have the damage and you have the tankiness to survive. It becomes very difficult for Rogue Warriors. And here we go. They're trying to go for the fight. Rogue Warriors, you're too far behind, lads. I'm sorry. There's nothing you can do. There is the Skirmish Shuffle. They do go and get the Lilting Lullaby. The 2 supports are traded. The top lane goes down, though, for Rogue Warriors. But Betty's doing very well. Betty trying to take them all down. LGD still looking pretty good, but then Lillia gets a triple. Rogue Warriors are able to keep themselves up and alive. It's a 4 for 5 in favor of Rogue Warriors. I don't think Haro can take the Elder Drake, so guess what? We're coming back in 40 seconds.
What the hell is this game, bro? Like, the fights are so messy. We're just all in for the win. And yeah, it's time for another replay, I guess. Watch Betty here. The poking down, I think, keeps RW competitive when, you're right, the 3rd item's picked up for the carries. Kramer's getting to that hyper carry state, and it's another good disengage ulti to create space for LGD. And with the CC added in, I think Kramer, he steps a bit too far forward, and Betty punishes. And at the end of the day, it's blow for blow, pound for pound. Haro weaving in. He gets 1,150 gold for that, by the way. So, yeah, RW win out. The Dragon stopped, though, and even though that's like a 1 fight overall, I still think it favors a team like LGD. The game goes on. The Dragon wasn't actually taken by RW. They can reset, they can come back out, and there was still a lot of gold traded off to LGD. Ignore the top of your screen. It does feel like LGD's composition is going to feel more impactful with the gold they're at now. You just see the damage coming across in that last fight as well as Betty. Oh no, has he gone too far? Choo-choo!
He's fine for the moment, gets himself around the corner. Now Colt taking a huge chunk of his own health bar down. He will not be dropped just yet. He's ticking. He does fall. Lilting Lullaby is able to do enough damage to take him out. He has got the zombie form, so he's just trying to keep everyone away, try and pepper down these health bars. And now, without your major tank, we can see now Alistar on the backside, seeing if he can go for something here. Uniboy does not get the Emperor's Divide onto anybody. It's pure disengage. Now, with Rogue Warriors pushing against LGD, they've pushed them back behind the river line, and they are now in a position to try and look for this dragon.
Every single time we come back from a replay, we're ready for another fight. RW have a numbers advantage, but LGD, they're just going to give it up. They don't care, and Quay walking in anyway. The Udir wants to run, but Haro actually has enough movement speed to follow suit. He's going to chase this down. He's got Water Walking and Elder. Swell Seed not in the right direction, and
should be fine.
Yeah, sorry, I started play-by-playing there, I realized, but
it's our new style.
God.
It's our new... Oh, he's burning. Not quite enough, though.
Penguin, let me just say one thing, man. With Colt going down there again, there's one thing about Rogue Warriors comp that despite not having scaling, they can play from so many angles, and they are being quite unique with the way they're playing these fights as well. They're capitalizing on LGD, and suddenly now with Elder, they've got the pressure back into the game. They've got a 3k gold lead, and they'll be able to push towards Inhibitor, but let's see if LGD can defend and hold off, keeping the game going.
The longer this fight go on, the more you tend to favor Rogue Warriors. If they're able to find one big ultimate, though, from LGD, that is the big win condition, as we saw at the Baron. Now, with Elder taken, they've got a minute and a half of that. They've taken a tier 2, not really in a position to take the tier 3. The inhibitor turret's still very, very difficult to take down when you've got 4 items on your Jinx. This Jinx for Kramer is online.
Yeah.
If you're able to get 1 or 2 rocket auto attacks onto someone like Betty or Forge, they're gonna die. There is no if, buts, or maybes. This Jinx, excuse me, is online and is very much looking to try and set up these fights for his team. It's all on Kramer to stay alive. If he gets caught out, that is where this side of LGD will falter, and that's where they need to try and make sure they don't just fall down on that particular setup. But this game, man, this looked like it was boring. Resident Sleeper, go next, whatever. How dare I tell LGD to FF and go next at 22 minutes, knowing that 10 minutes later, they would only be 4,000 gold behind and have a Baron to play for in the next 2 minutes. Or even 10 seconds, excuse me. It's a bit of a turnaround, but the vision control is still in favor of Rogue Warriors. They are still very much in the front seat. Don't get a front on the front foot. Don't get it twisted. And they're going to be able to take this with the Baron because they have the Elder Drakes. Too dangerous to walk in for LGD. Yeah,
it is. The remaining timer works out really nicely for RW in second Baron of the game. But this time, this one will calmly go over to Rogue Warriors. So 32 minutes in. There's a Baron timer on this as well, and this is where we see if RW can get enough of an advantage to build in the pressure for LGD's base. And remember, we talked about this before. You've got the Lucian, you've got the Renekton, you can play from these side lanes, and you've got a really strong 3 in the core composition as well. The Ezreal, Alistar, and the Lillia being able to pivot and hover between. So it feels like you can do a lot with this Baron, and we'll see if RW can actually ignore the points of scaling and push this Baron to the absolute max. And you're right, this game has been wild as hell. You were mentioning Kramer before. I just want to highlight that, you know, Kramer in these fights has been a bit back and forth, bit touch and go. I think it's more important that Peace and Colt, and even Quay, like, play that disruptor status, play more of a pivotal role in keeping units off of Kramer, because there is a lot of that gap close initiation from RW to get onto this AD carry, and it will be about these supportive members that can keep Kramer in a good position, good enough that he can carry the fights and unleash the DPS.
And for Rogue Warriors, what I want to see from them right now is exactly what they're doing. 1-3-1. You have their 2 teleports available to you. You have got Baroned up minions. You have that for another at least, a little under 2 minutes. You've got, roam and potential to be able to set this one up for your team. This is what I want to see from them. I want to see them pushing in with the Renekton, get that final outer turret, or inner turret, excuse me, and go to try and get these inhibitors cracked open. Now, minute and a half till that Baron is done. The 4 now into this mid lane as Ziv has joined up with his team, realizes he can't get that wave in time, so no point in going for a Betty. They're going to flash in. There's the Magnet Storm. They're trying to catch out people here. They're just trying to pepper them in. Betty is still very much alive and doing very, very well. They lose 1, and he's throwing Mystic Shots from the safety from behind the wall. Culling comes out as Forge just hits onto the tanks. They get the Dominus, and they get the flash from Betty. 2 big cooldowns here, but can LGD really defend this turret right now? There's still a minute on this Baron. It's going to be very difficult.
I think Betty can just walk in and actually just chip away this inhibitor turret. That'll go down, and Colt's staying too far as well.
Oh, did he stay too far? Well, or was it a bit of a bait right now? As we can see, the Lilting Lullaby has not been used just yet. Colt ticking down, but he will survive on nothing. They will lose an inhibitor. You can see there, Kramer, 1 auto attack there brings Betty down just below his half HP. They get 2 inhibitors, so still a win for Rogue Warriors. They're still 7,000 gold ahead. They've cracked open the base on 2 fronts. It's a minute 15 till that Elder Drake spawns. LGD, and they still have the TP as well onto Forge. So if Forge finds out that everyone from LGD is at this Elder Drake, he can TP in, and as a Lucian, he can end the game so quickly.
He really can. You got the double inhibitors down that you mentioned, and I know we're going to see it in a second because I thought that engage from Peace was really nice. It was exactly what LGD needed to do because they were getting pressured from 2 waves with the bottom wave pushing up as well. Just what we talked about with the composition RW you're running with Baron. They're so volatile and so in your face in multiple lanes. As that's the flash. They've got a pick.
Oh! They caught him! They caught him! That's the jungler dead for at least a minute. That's 40 seconds into this Elder Drake. You have no smite. Now, LGD, you have to play this smart. There are super minions crashing in the top side. You will have super minions in the mid lane as well. 25 seconds until this Baron spawns. It still feels like Rogue Warriors are in the advantage purely from the work they were able to do before that pick.
Now they're edging for another one. I mean, Colt should be tanky enough to frontline this. He's got the ultimate still. Teleport being used, Penguin.
This is very, very risky. You got 5 members here, but remember, Forge has TP. Forge can end the game if the top lane minions can get there. The poke is very, very big. Here goes Colt. Gets onto 1, and they're going to try and take down the Alistar. He's almost dead, just about survived, and it's actually Colt who goes down. Betty is free-firing with Forge. The 280 carries doing so much work here. Betty forced to get out. Kramer is not able to survive, though, as there's just too much DPS. And now, look at the super minions pushing into this mid lane. They're just trying to stop LGD. Rogue Warriors looking to push in these waves, and Rogue Warriors looking to send us to a game 3.
Apparently so. That fight looks so good all of a sudden as Forge. Solo kill time.
Oh, Forge God. Able to outplay Uniboy 100% there, and that is going to seal the deal. Rogue Warriors will equal up this series 1-1 in a chaotic fashion. They still win, but not in the fashion we thought they would. They will take down the Nexus turrets, they will take down the Nexus, and they will take themselves to a game 3 versus LGD.
What do you say after watching that? From Uniboy thinking he has a last laugh solo kill to Kramer once again misplaying a team fight. I mean, LGD, they stole a Baron. They came back into that game. They had the scaling advantage, and it was misplay after misplay. And all you can say in this one is, you know, thank God I'm not a color caster, because if I had to explain that game, boy, oh boy.
We saved our color casters a hell of a lot of headaches there.
Yeah.
But my God, that was just so explosive, so random, and Rogue Warriors won, and we expected Rogue Warriors to win. But LGD getting that Baron fight, that insane Emperor's Divide from Uniboy to catch everybody out, to put them in combo with the Rell. They can go nowhere. They're literally CC'd for I think like 3 seconds where they're just getting absolutely destroyed. Oh, this is truly a clash of the bottom teams right now. Yeah. It's not who can play the best, it's who can throw the most. Because my God, but if it's nothing else, it's entertaining.
Oh, that's the perfect word for it. It's entertaining League of Legends, but when you have to sit here and talk about it, excuse me, and you know, try and look for a reason why players are doing something, you tend to think, man, was there a reason? Was there a reason? Like, I have to say,
what's the point of this again?
Dude, Colt, for some reason, you know, many times, I think Colt on Sion there was a no-go. Put him on something else, because he facilitated one role really nicely in the team fight around the Baron, but apart from that, it wasn't Colt's game showing up. And Udir in this series as well has been pretty shocking. like from both Haro and Quay, and I know I'm being a bit of a negative Nancy right now. I'll switch it over and say that Betty in team fights is really nice. I think Betty played the fights probably the best out of anyone. Betty and Forge to a degree, and even Haro I think gets a bit of a highlight because Rogue Warriors did shape up quite nicely, even after losing the Baron and making a Baron play that they necessarily didn't have to and didn't have the right information for. RW still played the fights better, still looked for the picks. They utilized the 1-3-1 with the Baron so nicely and added so many pressure points around the map that I think RW at the end of the day deserved the win, however many hoops they had to jump of their own making to get it.
Yeah, honestly, it felt like this was kind of a carry in different stages of the game. It was Haro into the early game, it was Forge into the mid game, and then it was Betty into the late game. That's how it felt to me anyway. I felt like Betty on this Ezreal looked fantastic, was able to just put down such good DPS, keep himself safe with the arcane shifts and the flashes, and it worked out for a lot of these guys. And Rogue Warriors, they earned themselves a game 3. I still think their mid game has a massive question mark over it as they randomly threw away a Baron and almost lost the game off of it, but they did fantastic work in the early game and we cannot take that away from them. But for LGD, still life in them. Not exactly the win not exactly the loss I wanted to see though after such a dominant game 1. So it looks like the power picks are definitely coming in. The mini metas, if you will, that are happening is very prevalent in this game, and the Udir just doesn't seem like the pick for either side right now. It seems like they both have answers to it.
Yeah, that's why it was given away, and I think Rogue Warriors, didn't pick it up for a very good reason. We saw that Renekton first pick, and into the lane it was good. Into the team composition they wanted to run, it was the perfect addition. And RW had better priorities in this game. We put the throwing aside. I'd say that RW still, at the end of the day, deserved to win this game with at least a good early game.
I mean, whoever wins, we lose. Isn't that the alien predator?
Whoever loses, we win.
We'll see what happens in game 3. We're going to throw it to a quick break, but when we return, picks and bans for the ultimate game in this best of 3.